Angel Reese continues to get more and more shots, and good for her. She's playing well. All of a sudden, she's cranked it up a notch since the second meeting with Caitlin Clark. There's been a third, maybe a fourth and fifth by now, based on WNBA scheduling. But she's set a record. She's surpassed Candace Parker with WNBA record 10th straight double-double. Well done.
Yeah. Well, Caitlin Clark continues to set rookie records also. I mean, they're living up to the billing right now, both of them.
And
Caitlin Clark out-dueled Diana Taurasi in yesterday's game, and they won. And Taurasi, who was critical of Caitlin Clark, was very complimentary post-game
so they're tied 1-1 now, and they dueling. We need the
Diana Taurasi's 42 years old and still at it. Going to be playing in the Olympics.
For like a ninth time.
But pretty impressive. She had like 19 points in the game, and I'm thinking 42 years old and putting up 19 in the biggest professional league, not bad.
He says, hey, LeBron, hold my beer.
Yeah. So what interests me, though, is not Angel Reese's record-breaking so far. It's something that I've talked about with Angel Reese. She seems like someone who has a willingness to play the villain role, but I don't really think she's that willing to do that.
Wait, I think she is. It's one key thing. She wants credit. She wants the credit for doing the things that she's doing. She'll play the villain role if she's going to be given credit for the production and the accolades and the admiration. As long as everyone's cool with it, she's the villain.
Well, so the latest example of what I'm saying is...
Love. You know this. Love.
Yeah, she wants the credit, but I think there's two ways to look at this, okay? And Shaquille O'Neal, I think, hit both sides of this with Angel Reese. And he's friends with Angel Reese. They have the LSU connection. They're pretty close. Angel Reese can text or call Shaq, and that's exactly what she did after Charles Barkley. He had his big rant about the jealous women of the WNBA to shut up, being petty about Caitlin Clark and everything else. Well, on the big podcast with Shaq said, Angel actually called me after that rant. And he said, quote, she was upset, and she asked me, why didn't you say nothing to Shaq? Shaq said, I had to call Reese and tell her to stop reading comments. You don't owe an explanation to anybody because she jumped on me. Why did you say nothing to Charles, is what Angel Reese told Charles Barkley. And he said she's being too sensitive. But he also said the ones that are real sensitive are the ones that are more dominant. Michael Jordan was really sensitive to criticism, right? He used that as a fire that burned within him. He used slights, whether perceived, fake, real, whatever, to fuel what he was doing. Angel Reese kind of seems like the same to me, but she really took this personally when Charles Barkley went off about WNBA players, not even mentioning her by name, I don't think. Just the rest of the league, not Caitlin Clark.
The whole thing, yeah. And this is from the big podcast. You're going to hear from Adam Lefkoe, who's also the co-host with Shaquille O'Neal.
I feel like you've been a big brother to Angel Reese. How proud are you of what she's doing so far?
She's playing great. She's doing it her way. She's playing her game. She's non-apologetic, which I love. And listen, she has to learn, trials and tribulations of this thing. I'm not the big brother that says, bam, 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 bam. She knows if she needs anything, she can call me. I have to call her and tell her, stop reading comments. You don't owe explanation to anybody. Play your game, because she jumped on me. Why you didn't say nothing to Charles? I said, well, first of all, Charles takes up the segment. I didn't have the time to say anything. But I talked to him afterwards. But, and the ones that are real sensitive are the ones that are more dominant. I don't know what the criteria is for Rookie of the Year, but I love the marketing that's going on between her and Caitlin. It's similar to myself and Christian Laettner. We're forever going to be linked until one of us separates from the other.
Well, except for Christian Laettner was on the Dream Team, and Shaq was not, but it was more about Isaiah Thomas that year.
I think it was a pretty clear separation by year 2 of their NBA careers.
Oh, yeah.
You mean the Shaq fella might be a little bit better than old Christian Laettner in the NBA? I know that shocked a lot of people, but
Christian Laettner was in the category of Cherokee Parks.
That was a no contest. I think Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese will hang around the fight against each other a little while longer than Christian Laettner did with the Minnesota T-Wolves back in the day, and Shaquille O'Neal, who completely took off in the NBA with the Orlando Magic.
As dominant as it can be.
How many goals did that guy wreck in his first 2 years in the league? But they had to Shaq-proof the goals for him. I mean, he was named after proofing the goals because he was breaking them down.
A defensive mechanism of Hack-a-Shaq.
Yeah, that also came into the league.
Well, by calling up and saying, why don't you have my back, Reese is doing exactly what Barkley was complaining about on the set about being petty. In that exact moment.
It sounds petty and overly sensitive.
Yeah.
Because she took that as a direct shot at her, even though he said the league and everyone who's complaining about Caitlin Clark.
See, I think Angel Reese.
There's some real animosity there, and I think that only helps this rivalry.
I think Angel Reese, though,
I don't think it's on Caitlin's side, though. I think it's Angel Reese is like, I'm not getting my piece of the pie and the credit that I deserve.
It's the credit, it's the jealousy aspect, because in her answer about she wasn't the only one that made this happen, talking about college basketball, she's like, I also did that. You know, it wasn't like no other names were mentioned. You know, it's like I also am a reason why we're doing what we're doing. They're not. It's not a collective
great,
group. It's a
great
duo.
For the rivalry. It's great for the league. It's great for women's basketball.
Oh, it amps each other
and
up.
I don't think it's fake at all. I mean, I think Caitlin Clark is a stone cold killer who works really hard at her craft. I think she gets as fiery as anyone. I think Angel Reese legitimately is jealous of Caitlin Clark, is jealous of the attention she gets. She thinks she deserves just as much as she does. She does not like it. She's not afraid to say that, too, even though she's going to get mad when someone calls her jealous or petty. But she is. But that helps fuel her and fuel this rivalry, which is a net positive for the league.
But maybe she's taking the advice, too, because, again, in her most recent comments that I remember reading about, it was about her in her response just saying, I'm just trying to hoop. I'm just going out here to hoop. And her head coach sitting right next to her gave her a look like, well done. I can't believe you just said that, but well done. You know, you didn't take the question to mean as an insult to you because they were asking about what you did today versus what you didn't do last time. It was just you went out and balled, and she does that very well, and has been doing that over the last couple of weeks very well.
You know what's crazy to me, Hutton, and all this talk about all this, and these two rookies and Shaq right there. I'm not following the odds on the WNBA Rookie of the Year race to see who's really in it. But talking about, he said, I don't know the criteria for Rookie of the Year, but I think both have a case. Talking about Caitlin Clark and her. Angel Reese was the 7th pick in the WNBA draft.
Right.
Can anyone name picks 2 through 6 in the draft?
I mean, no.
Outside of Caitlin Clark and her. But isn't it amazing that all this talk and her double-double record and everything else, she was the 7th pick?
Did anyone else pick?
I remember looking at the projections and thinking, why is she not 2nd?
Did anyone else pick?
I mean, let's look. Let's look who was picked in between. Because I was shocked when I was seeing the projections of her outside the top 5 because I'm thinking, I know 2 players.
Well,
I feel like the other one that I know would be the 2nd overall pick.
But it was
I thought this would be like Manning and Leaf. You know, going into the draft where it's a no-brainer, but who's going to go number 1?
No, there was much more criticism of Angel Reese's game and not going back for another year. For like the pro readiness of everything.
So the other picks in between. You ready? Ready for this, Hutton?
Sure. Yes.
I know you're ready. Cameron Brink, I've heard of her.
Okay.
Tall, blonde player from Stanford, the blonde. Cameron Brink.
No updates on her.
Number 3, I've seen some updates, and like she said some things that.
On WNBA Today.
She's got a lot of things to say. All right, Cameron Brink's got a lot of things to say. What? I can't hear a word he's saying. What's that?
Cardoso from South Carolina.
Yeah, I've got it in front of me. Camila Cardoso's number 3. Rakia Jackson from Tennessee, number 4. J.C. Sheldon. Raise your hand if you've heard of J.C. Sheldon. Tyler is one of the biggest Ohio State fans I know. I doubt he's heard of J.C. Sheldon from The Ohio State University, number 5.
He says no.
And Aaliyah Edwards from UConn. I only know her because I watched the Iowa-UConn game because of Caitlin Clark.
What about the decision that Chicago had to draft Angel Reese over Peely?
Alyssa Peely from Utah. That was a big one. I also heard that French point guard Carla Lette was on the mind of the Chicago Sky.
Look at France represented again, just like the NBA.
France is taking over the damn sport. When is France going to start dominating us in the Olympics? It's got to be soon, right? I mean, they're top 5 picks, top 10 picks in both men's and women's. It's going to happen, everyone. The French takeover is real.
The takeover of those two, real, in the WNBA.
I'm just still shocked that there were 5 picks in between those two. When you think about the impact of both now. Because Angel Reese is on a tear just like Caitlin Clark.
And I don't know what the other rookies are doing.
It didn't take Caitlin Clark long to figure it out. Those first couple games were a struggle, but she looks pretty good now. Looks like the number 1 overall pick.
And hey, Angel Reese is looking like a top 10 pick, and it looks like Angel Reese of college, right?
Yeah.
Producing like you would expect if you're watching those games.